Hello everybody, my name is BarPickles, and today I'd like to welcome you to another Destiny Exotic review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Exotic Pulse Rifle Red Death. Now, this is one of my favorite weapons in the game, actually. And as I'm sure many of you Guardians know, Xur, the exotic merchant, actually sold it this weekend for the first time in forever. So that was pretty exciting, and I actually hadn't gotten my hands on this weapon yet, so I've kind of been messing around with it, and this is going to be one of my out-of-the-box reviews. So I've kind of gotten a good I've kind of gotten a good feel of the weapon, but I haven't, gotten all the perks unlocked, all that, blah blah blah. Now, the Red Death is an exotic pulse rifle that can be sold by Xur, one from PvP or PvE activities. Now, this pulse rifle belongs to the low rate of fire, high impact archetype of pulse rifle. Now, let's talk some numbers really quickly. As you can see here, on tier 1 enemies, to the headshots on tier 2 enemies, deal 201s, and body shots deal 134s. Now, since you're going to be shooting in 3-shot bursts, my math isn't too great, but 134 times 3 is 402. So you're going to be doing 402 damage every time you get a body shot on a tier 2 enemy. And I'm not going to do the math for the headshots. Now on tier 1 enemies, so that's, your basic red bar enemies, you're going to be doing 401 to the head and 134 to the body. Now that's a pretty high number. This pulse rifle has the second highest damage in the game, out of any pulse rifle. And, it definitely shows. I mean, you can, like I did there, you can take down, tier 1 enemies in one headshot, and it takes about 7 to 8 shots or 7 to 8 pulses, varying body and head, to take down an enemy. Now let's talk some stats. The range on this pulse rifle is okay. It's not great, but it's not bad either. You can take down enemies from a fairly good distance, and you can take them down from up close. Now, hip-firing this weapon, I would really only since it is a pulse rifle, I really only would recommend that, that you only, hip-fire when you're in a very close range. As you can see here, you see, even there, I missed shots. So, it's gonna be kind of hard to, fire this pulse rifle from the hip, and to just get headshots. I mean, you can do that if you want to, let's say try to take out that servitor and be a bird, I guess, but, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Now, the stability on this weapon is actually fairly good. It's a bit jarring at first, but if, you have a steady thumb, you can really just get consistent headshots, and by the time you're ready to take your next shot, it's pretty much down to center, since the rate of fire is kind of medium, or kind of typical, I guess. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to talk about that's decent, but not that great, is the rate of fire. Now, since this is a low rate of fire, high damage pulse rifle, it's obviously not going to be firing very many shots, and I think this kind of ties in with the, low mag size of just 27. Now, you may say, oh, it's only, three bullets below, Oversoul Edict or Praetor's Timepiece or blah blah blah. But it is fair. It's kind of high, but also kind of low compared to some other pulse rifles. Like, as I said just a second ago, Oversoul Edict and Praetor's Timepiece both have 30 in the mag, which are 3 higher than this, which you can tell the difference, even though with this you just get a lot more damage, so you don't really need that extra 3 shots. But it's useful it would be kind of more useful in my opinion if you did have it. But like I said, the mag size is actually fairly high compared to a lot of other pulse rifles. Like, Three Little Words, I believe, has 24 or 27. I'm not completely sure on that number. I know that, the Coiled Hiss has 24 in the mag, which this has one higher than that, which I like. And you know, this weapon has a lot of redeeming qualities in the stats. Or not redeeming, just has a lot of good qualities in the stats, really. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just veer off to the side and show you some of the perks that this weapon has. So the first perk is Unflinching. It's easier to aim under fire using this weapon. This is great in both PvP and PvE, because if you're under fire, you can still hit things pretty consistently with headshots. Now, in the first tree, we have Accurized Ballistics, Field Choke, and Aggressive Ballistics. Usually, I've seen a lot of people go with the Aggressive Ballistics because it increases the impact and stability with, you know, a decreased range, but since it's a pulse rifle, you're not going to be wanting to fire from a huge range anyway. So I'd recommend, and here you get a pretty good stability debuff, with just a tiny bit of range improvement, and that's not really worth it in my opinion. So I'd probably go with Accurized Ballistics or Aggressive Ballistics if I were you. Then you have Snapshot, High Caliber Rounds, and Single Point Sling. Now, I've actually used this weapon on a friend's account, and I most of the time went with High Caliber Rounds just because it increases the damage output by 2. So instead of 34s in Crucible, it's 36, and in PvE, on Tier 1 enemies, instead of 401 to the head, it's 421, and instead of 134 to the body, it's 154. So that's a nice improvement to damage. Or Single Point Sling is a good choice because it increases your movement speed by a noticeable amount. I think it's 4%, if I'm right. So I'd go with High Caliber Rounds or Single Point Sling, just because on Snapshot, you see the adds time is already pretty fast. I mean, it's not great, but it's fairly fast. Then we have Red Death. Each kill heals you and speeds up reloads. This is amazing for PvP, because you can get into a gunfight with someone, almost lose, start your healing process, which that is a note. The healing doesn't automatically refill your health bar, it just starts the healing process. Now, if you want to get that up higher, you're going to want to set your recovery stat on your character pretty high if you want to get the most out of this perk. In the speed up reload, I think it speeds it up by about 0.6 seconds, which is very nice. It goes from 1.9 seconds to reload to 1.3, which that's a nice little buff. So overall, Red Death is a very, very good pulse rifle that does extremely high damage in both PvP and PvE. In PvP, being able to two-shot Guardians if all of your bullets land in the head, and in PvE being able to take out Tier 2 enemies in 7 to 8 shots, or in 7 to 8 pulses, and Tier 1 enemies in just 1 headshot pulse. I mean, this weapon is just all around a great gun, and if you haven't picked it up from Zerg yet, do it. You will love it. It's one of the best weapons in the game, and in PvP, it replaces what Suros was, in my opinion. And in PvE, it definitely sets it to, in my opinion, a Tier 1 exotic. One more thing I wanted to point out before the video ends is the cosmetics of this weapon. As you can see, on the front end of the weapon, there's blood and spikes. And then you've got skull and crossbones here, and you've got a little knife there, and even the holographics in this sight show just emit death. I mean, you know, you've got the skull and crossbones, and then you've got the little red kind of tick marks, almost. I mean, it just looks great. It looks really cool. I think cosmetically it's one of my favorite weapons in the game. I mean, it just looks so cool. And this and Red Death also has a very unique sound to it. It has kind of a cracking, it almost sounds like cracking of bones, as you can hear here. See, it definitely has a very unique sound, unlike any other gun in the game. So overall, I'm gonna give Red Death a 9 out of 10 for being especially solid in PvP, but also an extremely viable choice for PvE as well. Let me know what you think about the Red Death. Would you give it a lower rating? Would you give it a 10 out of 10? Let me know. How did I do on this review, do you think? I know some people have been complaining that I am a noob in PvP, so, I kind of changed this around and played in PvE. So, let me know what you guys think. I'll be doing a follow-up review, that I have unlocked, where I have fully maxed it out, or at least unlocked the Red Death perk, so that way I can kind of show you the full extent of this weapon's abilities. Okay, I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you later.